WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, J.W. Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. We're talking about ag today. We're talking with somebody's name that many of you will know, Steve Matthis. Dr. Steve Matthis is now Dean of the School of Agriculture and Biological Sciences at Mount Olive University. Dr. Steve Matthis, I'm trying to make that name kind of ring in my ears. We go back a long ways and at Samps Community College, where you spent, it was about 12 or 15 years there, as I recall.
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but yeah.
21 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. Okay, so I want to kind of just touch for folks that don't know you, just give them a little bit of background here, and then you can add to this wherever you wish. But you finished your bachelor's, master's, and also got your doctorate at North Carolina State University.
Yes, I did.
And interestingly enough, those 21 years at Samps Community College was a major portion, I guess, of your academic achievements, because you have an oversight of academics, financial, program development, planning, implementing courses, just literally the entire spectrum of education. You were engaged in it, to include occupational adult education, of which you and I both parlayed on, because many times I was the paperwork guy coming in, making sure the paperwork was in order.
Right.
And you were the teacher guy, making sure the teaching and the education was on point.
Yep. I brought them in and taught them something hopefully they didn't know, and sent them back home happy, and got another group to come in and did the same thing in the next semester. So that's kind of how we worked together and got things done.
Absolutely. And that was a growing number of people that we literally turned out through the occupational area. And that doesn't even get into the academic area that you also had responsibility for as well. The other thing that I think is interesting in your background is just not in the classroom as an educator. You have been a grower and had your own 300 sow operation, and finished swine operation, and also add to that 100 cow calf operation. A lot of people don't understand how that parlays together. The hogs, and then, well, why do you have so many cows? But it all comes together because you need one, and the other complements the other side of it, which is growing of a lot of grain and grass.
Yeah. So we grew our own crops, own corn for our grinding. I was an independent farmer at that time. So I ground my own corn, made my own feed. And of course, when you got the pig side of it, you had to have somewhere to put the effluent. So that went on the pastures to grow the grass to raise the cows. So it's just a complete circle, sustainable type thing. So yeah, that's what I did for many years. I did that for about 13 years before I went back to the community college. Mm-hmm. So I started teaching high school in Transylvania County. Mm-hmm. I went from Transylvania County to Sampson Community College at that time, and started, or Sampson Tech at that time. Mm-hmm. I maybe it had changed names. I can't remember. And then started an ag science program there. A lot of vets were taking the class at that time. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for several years, and then I got out and went full-time farming with my dad for about 13 years. And after 13 years was up, I went back to community college and started the livestock and poultry production department there, and started that and grew it through the next few years until till I got into the whole occupational program thing. Yeah. So I actually managed all the welding and carpentry, industrial systems, even cosmetology, all hands-on
stuff.
All hands-on occupational programs. Yeah.
The other thing I think is interesting too, you've got about 9 years you spent, and I think you still do some stuff as you got time with Prestige Farms.
Yeah, when I retired at the community college, actually it's been 10 years ago, I went to work immediately with Prestige Farms as kind of a contract type consultant for them for a few months. And the few months grew to 10 years. So I started working there and on a part-time basis. So I'd go in and work whenever they needed me or when I had a project to work on. And they'd put me on several projects. And one of the best jobs I've ever had, to tell you the truth. I really enjoy working for them, and we had a great relationship. Still do. I actually taught a class last Saturday morning for them. So I still teach some of the classes there. All the truck drivers have to take a class on how to handle pigs before they can even unload a load of pigs at Smithfield Foods. So they have to have this special training that's good for 3 years. It's a national certification. So I'm nationally certified to teach that. That is called TQA, Transport Quality Assurance. I still do that and other things for them.
Well, and there's all of these parts, and some of the things you did in the introduction here that we're talking about, I want to kind of get into. I wanted to mention also that married for 45 plus years.
Yep.
Paula. Got a daughter.
Yep.
Marley. Marie. And she is, you have a son-in-law, and his name is Dr. Cooper Smith.
It is.
So your family has grown and evolved as you have grown and evolved. And I'm looking now at this statement, which I think is, to me, is important because I'm right there with you. You've got 3 granddaughters?
I do.
And it's interesting to me also, you still take time for Rose Hill Baptist Church and you serve there as a deacon and Sunday school teacher.
The teaching I'm not doing at the moment, but yes, I have done the teaching part and have been a deacon there. I'm off schedule now. I'm not a deacon right now there, but I have been several times. We're on and off whenever you're deacon.
Well, and I think, there's just, and I'm hitting all these points here so folks can get to know you a bit as I know you. And to me, the faith-based part is very important for a person to be grounded and understand how to get along with people and how to bring people together. And I think when I look at your background and knew you at the community college, that was one of the things that you had probably the best ability, and that's bringing people together to learn something. Because you can bring them together, but unless you get them there and get them to understand that we're about to learn something, it's a lost cause. You got to get them there and get them to understand, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Well, JW, I did a lot of adult education in my whole career, but I really love that part of it, that adult education part. And the faith-based part I like. That's one reason I really like where I'm working now over at UMO, because it is a faith-based university. And I like that. I like working there. I like the students that come there. It's a really great thing. But I really enjoy teaching adults because I found out early on teaching adults, if you can tell them within 20 minutes of every class something they didn't know, you basically got them for the next hour and a half.
Absolutely.
But if you don't, you've lost them. Absolutely. And you might have lost them for good. That's one of those little tricks and one of the things you need to know. But teaching adults is great fun. And that's why I'm still doing it. And I'm doing it at UMO. Of course, there are young adults at UMO, but then I still do some stuff at Prestige, and I enjoy that group.
And I think that's one of the things that I'm trying to work to get you on this show, is because this show is based on the concept of providing information and education. It has been, and it will always be as long as I'm working with this show. It's based on trying to inform people and help them understand why certain things happen as they do. One of the things that happens to us, Stephen, you've seen this many times, is people will get a sound bite or they'll get a piece of information, but they're not able to articulate how to understand that piece of information.
Right. And I think doing it, in the educational setting is really good. Being able to do that, get that exposure and get it out there, get that point across to make sure everybody understands it's really important.
The other things is that I noticed in just looking back too, is that you've been involved and are still involved in things like the North Carolina Pork Council, North Carolina Cattlemen's Association, and the National Pork Board, which is really high level organizations that has a huge view of the entire landscape pork production.
Yeah. Both of those, the first two, North Carolina and the Cattlemen Association stuff. Yeah, I'm not as involved as I used to be when I was teaching and stuff, and kind of still associated with it. And the National Pork Board, I used to do a lot more with them, especially in the education side of it. They would get us all together as educators across the United States from different things. They would pay us to go out there and help them develop materials that would be beneficial for all swine producers, whether they're small or large. And that's what we tried to do as an educational unit with National Pork Board. Still, a lot of irons in the fire, so I'm not as active as I used to be in those, but I still have associations there and try to keep them up. Got a lot of good friends there too.
I think a lot of it too is that with the positions you're in and what you've taken on now at Mount Olive University, it does limit your own human capability to be connected, because this is, in my opinion, and you can verify one way or the other, but this is a huge step for you for the responsibility of that entire department at Mount Olive University. Yeah,
I look at it as it was a great department, the Ag and Biosciences. It's one of the largest parts of the university. A lot of students in that department. It's the largest one, actually. So when you look at that, it's a kind of a challenge. Now, the person that started that, Dr. Sandy Matthis, she's retired. I've known her for years, and actually, me and her are good friends. I've known her for years, but we kind of, hadn't been associated a lot in the past 5 or 10 years. But I knew what she was doing, and we stayed in contact. So I look at this as a great challenge and a great opportunity. So that's one of the reasons I decided, I would go over there and do the best I could, and maybe improve some stuff and change and move forward, trying to keep it moving forward. And that's the main thing. Absolutely. Main thing. And it takes all kinds of people to do that.
And of course, Dr. Matthis has been in that seat there where you are. I've had her. Great. The good news of having her on before. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and dig into ag a bit deeper. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Call a friend.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. J.W. Simmons here. I'm your host. Our guest today is Dr. Steve Matthis. Steve, been a friend of mine for quite a few years. We're talking about agriculture. I don't really know anyone that has had the amount of experiences you've had, both hands-on, both in the classroom, both in the field, looking at and developing lesson plans right now that you have in various areas of ag. One of the things I want to try to get a handle on here is talk a bit about some of the challenges that agriculture is facing. There's tremendous number of things out there or paths we could go down, everything from climate change to lack of ag equipment, you name it, they're out there. Kind of give us, from where you sit, from where you've been, what some of those challenges are. And if you don't mind, let's dig in those a little bit so folks can understand what people that are out there on the front lines are facing every day.
Well, I think the biggest challenge we have right now in the ag industry as we see it, whether it's produce, crops of any type, or the animal science, is our labor force. And that's one of the biggest things we have a problem with. We just having enough workers to come and work on the farms or get it product in. And the cost of doing that is what I'm looking at. So the cost of goods and the input prices, I think farmers and myself actually trying to figure out what I want to grow on my farm I have now, what it's going to cost me to grow that product is the input prices are really playing a big role in it. So we're talking about inflation of those type things. And inflation is also causing a problem with the amount of product that people buy. So then there's winds up being sometimes more product on the shelf of certain products because people can't afford it. And that could be a problem that we see. But I think right now, our technology, having the technology that we need to get the job done, because everything's gone high tech, and you got to stay up with that because that will affect your inputs. Let's take, for instance, if I'm farming a section of land out here and it's got 2 or 3 different soil types, and we need to know how to fertilize this. Now we can come out and take soil samples in a plot type thing or a grid, and then put that in our GPS and put it in our piece of equipment and run that piece of equipment, and it will apply fertilizer as needed in spots that we need it more here and there. So it's pretty neat to can do that. But a couple of things we have to have. We have to have the right equipment to do it with. That's expensive. Some farmers can't afford that because of the scale. And that creates a problem. When the tractors that drive themselves, I mean, that technology is there. You can put it in a tractor. If you're large enough and have enough acreage to afford a tractor like that, you can do it. Let's just take UMO, for instance, we talked about, that's where I'm doing some training. We just put into effect a brand new program at UMO. It's called Precision Ag. And Precision Ag does exactly that. Train students on how to operate that equipment, work on that equipment, and be efficient at it. So you can come in and take a series of classes, get a minor in plant science and precision ag. And if you do that, then we train you. We can even get you drone license because we have an aviation school at UMO. So you can get your drone license, the 107 part of aviation, to get that drone license. Then you can go out and fly a drone and spray effectively and efficiently with your drone license. So that technology is there. But let's take, for instance, one of the companies that we work with, B&S Tractor, on the farm to help us furnish this type of equipment. They have 7 technicians or nothing but that kind of technician, not working on mechanics, working on tractors, but working on the high-tech part of the tractor.
They're not changing oil.
No, not changing oil. They're just out there not changing tires. They just go every day and keep this equipment operating in the field. And so we get the students there and train them on that. So the high-tech part is one of those things that we're looking at. So labor and keeping up with that, having the infrastructure to do that is a big issue, I think, with a lot of farmers.
One of the things too is the things you're talking about. I'm going to remind folks, we're not talking about science fiction. We're not talking about something in the future. You're talking about things that's in place now, that's happening now. Yeah,
happening. And it's been happening for years, but it's growing exponentially right now as far as out there getting that job done. I mean, and how's the best way to do it? And I'll just tell you a little quick story. So they were farming the field behind my house, and it's 30 acres. And I lease it to a friend of mine, and he farms it because I'm doing too many things to be doing a lot of farming right now. I told you I've kind of changed around a little bit.
I would say, you are. Yeah.
So I let someone tend that. So he come in there with a big tractor, and he started, and I've never farmed a field that way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't run my rows that way, but I was curious. And the reason is the map was plotted. Everything was plotted. It was in the tractor. And I'll just tell you, one of the tractors I've got on the UMO farm has got more TV screens in it than my house. I mean, it's just one of them things. It's just, they're there and they use every one of them in the tractor. That's kind of funny.
It's like the cockpit of a jet.
It does. It does. So he's out there, and I figured he's got a setup like that, and he starts running his rows this way. And I said, well, okay, that looks interesting. And then he starts in the middle of the field, and then he goes to one side. So instead of coming back and start here and going back this way, he went to the other side of the field and come this way. I said, it will never match up where you got the rows exactly 20 inches apart or whatever they were. They might have been 38. Depends on what he was planting. I can't remember. But he started here, went this way, finished the field over here, then come back, went over here, and this map was telling him how to start, and he had a self-driving tractor. So he got it started. He started over there with short rows and worked out into the middle with the long rows. And I looked down and you could not tell. I bet it was within an inch or less of how that thing does. So that technology is there. And you don't drive it. Once you get it started, you don't drive the tractor. You just sit back and let it do its stuff, and it sprays or it plants or whatever you want to do.
That's such an amazing story. And I think I sit here, and I know some of our listeners maybe will relate to what I'm fixing to say, but it is such not only amazing to me because I'm one of those people as a child that was on a 140 farm-all tractor trying to plow a ridge for the tobacco field. And I was told, find you a big tree somewhere and follow that tree.
Yeah, you try.
Now, that's not even in the picture.
No, you don't have to.
It's changed so radically. So people that are thinking about agriculture now as a career need to change their whole mindset.
Of how to look at it as far as it's just not, I forget what cows, plows, and cow. It's technology stuff now.
Absolutely.
So, Absolutely. That's part of it. All of it's part of it, raising something. But there's a lot involved in it.
Well, I think one of the big takeaways from this conversation for this part of the show is that technology itself now is controlling everything in ag, from the actual growing, of which you just vividly pointed it out, to the distribution, to input factors. And when we come back, we're going to take a break in about a minute or two here, but when we come back, I want to get into some of those increased input costs because I'm hearing a lot about that from farmers.
Yeah.
This is a field that, as the dean over at Mount Olive University, when folks are looking at your program area, they literally need to at least have some introduction or take some specific courses if they're going to continue their journey in ag. Would that be safe to say?
Oh, yes. You need to look at every aspect of it and where you want to land, what you're looking at. But I don't care if it's in the livestock side of it, pigs, chickens, turkeys, or it's in the plant science. And of course, in our area is agriculture and biological sciences. So we also have, which I'd like to mention too and talk about a little bit, the possibilities of that, because the biological sciences we got play a big part of it.
I definitely want to get into the biological science part. There's a lot of development now going on and a lot of alternative sources of what, quote, traditional ag is and those kinds of things. As your transition and over the years, you've been seeing these changes. Would you say for the past 3 years, 5 years, you've seen more radical change towards technology, or has it been gradual?
I think the past 5 years it's picked up quite a bit. Being in the pig business all my life, it's what put food on my table. All my life. And being in that, I've seen the changes in that. And I can speak to that really well because they have totally changed the way we raise a pig. Now, you can raise a pig any way you want to. You can raise them on the ground. You can raise them any way you want to, but technology has really improved the environment and how pigs are raised, and they're, raising them is just much better than we used to do it.
When we come back from this break, I want to open with that statement you just said, raising pigs.
Okay.
I want to talk about raising pigs from the traditional sense, of which I vividly remember.
Yeah.
But now where we're raising pigs, I have no knowledge. It's like a complete different world. It's almost like I've walked into another planet, and I go to talking with some of these farmers. It is so high tech, so technology oriented. The folks in my era of being on the farm would probably look at it today and go, what is that thing? So when we come back, I want to touch on that. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking about ag from a different perspective, from a perspective that you may not have seen. Of course, if you're in agriculture today, you've probably seen it. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. This service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network, working quietly in the background. Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We Should Know is on there. I'm J.D. Simmons, your host. We're talking with Dr. Steve Matthis, Mount Olive University, Dean of the Ag Department over there. Steve, We've interacted for years now on many subjects. Back during the community college era when you were there, we're talking about things going on in ag. And as we went to break a while ago, we were we talked about a number of things off camera, but we talked a bit more about this comparative reality of what agriculture is today. And I know we've touched on just about everything from pigs to peanuts, from blueberries to sow operations or whatever. But the reality is every part of ag today is experiencing some kind of technological change in the way not only you operate,
right,
but how you operate.
Yeah.
So when you look at where you were back during our days at the community college system and look at it today, that's a huge transition, just that period of time.
Yeah, it's changed so much in 20 years, but you even take this 5-year period of time, just like technology we talked about in the last session, it has just grown so much in how we control things and how we control the environment to make it more, much better for the animals in those houses. I usually do employee training and employee testing for some of the farms. And when I do that, I go out and I ask questions and see what they know after about 60 to 90 days. And it's really interesting to see how they feel about it. But some of the questions I ask is about biosecurity and what is the temperature supposed to be in the barn? Why, if something happens, how the pigs react to it in those cases. And it's pretty neat because the environment in the barn stay around 70, 75 degrees. Well, sometimes my house isn't 70, 75 degrees, depending on, so they stay real comfortable in there. So, and the feed is there and the water's there and everything is just so controlled in that environment, and it's clean and it's, but the controls that they're in the building are all computerized. Mm-hmm. So when you go in there, you need to know how to operate them. And of course, it takes training in a person gets there. The farm manager or supervisor does that training. But it's a continual educational process throughout their whole work there until they become a manager. Now, you're talking about a manager, he's managing a $2 million farm operation with pigs and feed and labor and everything that's in there. Maybe more than that on some of them because they're larger than that. But that's a big undertaking, and they need to have some skill sets to be able to do that. So that training is very important.
Yeah, and you just touched on something that I think is critically important too. For folks that are in the the poultry or livestock business, swine, pigs. Yeah. Those folks is in that business, as you pointed out, is a multi-million-dollar business. The grower, that's the grower's responsibility. He's leveraging his assets or her assets. They're leveraging it for that operation. And it has to be part of a larger chain of events. Right. As you mentioned that, two names came to mind historically that, in my opinion, I want you to share your thoughts on this, that have been game changers in that industry. One of them is the late Bill Prestige. Mm-hmm. The other is Billy Herring. Mm-hmm. Hogslat, Prestige Farms. Who would you add to that, or would you like to expand on either one of those two?
Well, you could add Wendell to that one for sure. Wendell Murphy, yeah, for sure. But all of those have played a big part of it, from Hogslats, developing equipment and changing equipment to make it work better, doing experiments and stuff like that to develop certain equipment and buildings and ventilation and all that. That is really great. They've done a great job.
International company.
International company. And then, international company. And then you take Mr. Prestige and his group here. They have done a tremendous job in the labor force in our area for sure. 1,000 employees plus, and they're in like 7 states, I think. So Mississippi, South Carolina with their turkeys and their pigs and stuff, and it goes on out to the Midwest. So they've been a big players in it and in the development of different methods of doing things and research through the university system too, trying to figure out, what works better. So all of them are big players in this.
That piece of it, oftentimes as I reflect on ag, I again look at the late Bill Prestige and I think about during those days, as I recall, and correct me here if I'm wrong, but he was kind of one of the key originators to the system of how to grow pigs, i.e. the grower, how to develop a system of transport, and how to also process and distribute that. I mean, he kind of looked at it from that way of thinking and devoted his life to that.
Devoted his life. He came to this area selling feed. Of course, everybody knows that story probably. And then he grew into this business through Carroll's Foods and then developed his own business. But I'll tell you a little funny story aside from Mr. Bill, and it's really neat. And I tell this once in a while. And so I started working there after I finished at Sampson Community College, retired from there. And I went basically the next week to start a project. And after about a month, Mr. Bill was walking down the hallway, and some of y'all didn't know him, he was he'd call your name out, and I was walking down the hall and he said, "Hey, Steve." I said, "Yeah. What do you need, Mr. Bill?" "I want to ask you a question." And I said, "Okay." He said, "How do you like working here?" And I said, "I really do, Mr. Bill." I said, "It's a great place to work. I like the family atmosphere. I like what y'all do." I said, "I've been in the pig business all my life. It's just a step in the big world of pigs. I was in like independent farmer, and I've been teaching pig production all my life. And now I've stepped up to the kind of the final step, I guess, in pig production. It's really good." I said, "It's really good." He said, We're good. I'm glad you're here." I said, "Thank you very much. Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure. I think I might be able to answer it." And I said, "Okay. So I've been in the pig business all my life, and I understand, feed ingredients, getting pigs, raising pigs, getting pigs to market, but I just don't understand how this big thing works." I said, "When you put it all together, it's got the flow. And this flow thing is really important."
Huge machine.
It's a huge machine. How in the world do you get it done? He said, "I don't." I said, "What?" He said, "Not by myself." He said, "You got to hire smart people to do that." And that's what he said.
That's the secret.
That's the secret. You hire people to help you that know what they're doing and get the job done. And he's got a great crew. And that's how any company, whatever it is, Billy Herring's group, his family, the Murphys, Wendell, them, big part of this Eastern North Carolina. All of them are. And whenever you think about that, that's how you get it done. You hire people that get the job done, and you don't have to do it all yourself. You just follow up with it and make sure it's done to your degree.
All that we both learned and talked about and taught at the community college, dealing with systemic thinking, is critically important, because that system has to flow. You can't dissect a part of it and expect the rest, because it's going to affect the rest of the system.
The ag business is huge, and ag and biosciences it's really huge in this area.
The last quote I saw from Steve Troxler, the Secretary of Agriculture in North Carolina, it's $111 billion industry. Is that a close, or is it
close to it? Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of industry.
It's over 103, I know, and so I think it's probably close to that. And that's a big industry in this county. I mean, in this state. Whenever you think about it, it's really big, and the effects of it in our community is huge.
You hear, Steve, a lot of this news media, and it's great to get new industry in, and car manufacturers and computer chips, all of that. I'm not taking away from that at all. But do you think that we really put enough, not only appreciation, but thumbs up to the ag industry? Do you think we really do enough of that to let folks know that that's an industry that is over $11 billion industry and continues to grow?
Well, I don't really think so, because, we eat 3 times a day, and these guys keep it on our table for us in a plentiful amount. And I think that's commendable, and I don't think they get enough recognition for that. I mean, all from the head of the place all the way down to the person, whoever that's working on the farms. All of them need to be thankful for what they do. And according to some of the information I see in the research, we're going to need 70% more food than we got now in the future. And that's going to be really important, that we be able to produce that good, fresh, whatever it is, food. It could be plants or fruits, vegetables, or animals, whatever.
Well, and that's one of the things I wanted to try to get into this conversation as well. It's one of those, when we started talking a while ago, we started having this conversation a while ago, we talked about some of the challenges. And one of those challenges is, that you allude to, is this growing population base. Mm-hmm. I think for some reason we've kind of become accustomed to that. All of the grocery shelves are stocked and everything is there. We've also become accustomed in the past year or two that our prices on that product or commodity has also gone up. In some cases, some people have done analysis, it's had up to 30-40%. So when we come back, I want to talk about that growth and how we're able to keep up with it, and can we keep up with it from your perspective. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Dr. Steve Matthis, the head of the Ag School over at Mount Olive University. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
He forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We Should Know is on there. J.W. Simmons here, your host. Want to thank you for being with us. Also, thank you for your contributions of suggestions of subjects, people we should talk to, things you want to know more about. I appreciate that very much. Continue to send that via email to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com, or you can just drop us a card to the mailbox like sometimes folks will do, to Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina. That's 28329. We look forward to seeing you every week. Today we're talking about ag stuff with Dr. Steve Matthis, the head of the ag school. I'm going to call it the ag school. Okay. The dean of the ag school over at Mount Olive University. Steve, we talked about a lot of stuff in the first parts of the show. We're kind of coming up to the end of the show with this last part here, but I wanted to dig into a couple of areas. This idea that one of the challenges going forward to ag is the growing population, and also this increased input cost that ag is facing. We've also touched on the importance, and we can revisit that or add to it if you'd like, this importance of getting well-trained, well-educated people in ag, because you have to know a lot, not only about technology, but the new way of operating. It's completely different than folks that look back at 4 or 5 decades and remember it and go, I don't even understand. I mean, I wouldn't even think about getting one of those tractors with all the screens. Yeah. So talk to us about that and what not only you see now, but what you see in the future as we continue to go forward. Okay, JW, I want to start off with, trained workforce is what you were talking about, and it's really good. There is at the University of Mount Olive and the School of Agriculture and Biological Sciences, where I'm dean at, we specialize in areas that we need a lot of employees in. And right now, I think if all the universities and everything put out all the students they could in all the different areas, and I'm talking about plant science, animal science, veterinary bio, medical, any of those type places, any of those type jobs, we wouldn't supply but about half of what we need in the next few years. And even now, let's take for ag teachers right now. Let's just start where we do have ag ed at University of Mount Olive. So in the ag ed department, we have right now to supply, and this morning I got 2 emails from 2 different schools. Do you have any ag teachers that do not have a job yet? We got 2 places. We got 38, I think it was, last count, 38 positions that's not filled right now in the public schools from Maniota Murphy. So we got a lot of different schools and a lot of different places. So you could get a job anywhere in the state just about that you wanted to go right now. And so a lot of our folks will graduate in plant science and go work for a seed company or something because the jobs are there. We just don't have enough people in the ag industry. 100%, I can say that, it's 99.9. I'm going to say 100% of our students are employed within 3 to 6 months of graduating in their field. That is pretty daggone. That is astounding. And we can have waiting list. I mean, it's just, and when they come through the school, we train them, and it's all hands-on applied. And a lot of schools have gotten away from that, but we have 3 farms. They go out there and they do the book work, and then they go out on the farm and they do the hands-on part of it, which gives them that employees like. They like that. So we have no trouble finding jobs for students. Matter of fact, they come to us quite a bit. And it's not to kind of help us understand too, it's not the traditional farm laborer that we think about from several decades ago. This is very high skilled job functions with some very good salaries from what I understand. Very good salaries. We have something that we are working with at University of Mount Olive where some students can take classes at the community college and take some classes while they're in high school at the community college. Of course, they get 2 years
at a real reasonable rate of going there. And then they can transfer to UMO and get that 4-year degree. And we got articulation agreements with them so they can transfer right in. Mm-hmm. So that puts them at that next level of getting a job when they get that 4-year degree to move right on into some high-tech thing. So we had one guy, I just remembered, one of our students, he graduated, C Company hired him. I think he moved to Illinois. I'm not sure. I think that's where he moved to. And his starting salary was $69,000 with bonus. Mm. So, they're out there. The jobs are there. You just have to have the skill level and the education to apply for that job and get it. So that's important. But we need more and more every year, more than we can supply any schools in the ag side of it.
Is the market expectation changing as it relates to technology when we look at what we used to think is a blueberry, and now we look at a sweet potato? That market, especially with sweet potatoes, I've seen there's so many different varieties now. And we're number one, I think.
Sweet potato production,
in production and distribution.
Yeah, the varieties pay a big part. Patented, berries, patented products is really big. People get hooked on one berry they like, and they like that variety, and that's for whatever it is, for canning or cooking or whatever they want to do with that. So that's a big thing. So that technology, breeding those type things, plants and animals, plays a big part in the education part of it. How you're educated, what you got your education in.
Talk to us a bit about what you're seeing out of your windshield as it relates to climate issues. And I'm particularly thinking about the number of solar operations and these kinds of things. I know I've heard Steve Troxler talk about the importance of ensuring that we got adequate farmland, and I know that's an issue. I'm not one of these people that denies that's not an issue. But tell us what you're hearing, what might be happening at the university over there related to how we generate the energy versus a way to do it that doesn't occupy too much of the space needed for crops or growing products for ag.
Yeah. The energy component is very tricky because we're going to need more and more energy as, like you said, the population increases and we need more food. And of course, we're going to need more energy. Well, the way we've seen that gone in the last 10 years, and particularly in the last 5, more and more solar panels are going up on really good, productive farmland. And that's creating a problem for us as farmers, being able to keep production moving in the right direction as far as producing more more food. Mm-hmm. But in the animal side of the house, and I'll just regress back to whenever I was in the pig business for those 13 years with my dad, we were, raising, and you calculate how many pigs per sow per year you can raise, and it was right at 18 to 20 pigs per sow per year. Mm-hmm. So when you think about from there to now, it's not that many years when you're talking about genetics and changing and making things better and higher tech and how you raise them, everything. It's not that many years. But I just heard recently that they're pushing, or not pushing, they're at 32 pigs per sow per year.
Wow.
Per animal. So now production has increased, and it's probably going to go higher than that. But production has increased to levels we have never had before. So that creates more product that we can utilize, but also creates more problems because we need more food to feed that group. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, so taking in land that is very productive land when we could do possibly something different, and like nuclear power or something that wouldn't take such a big footprint as solar. Mm-hmm. And I just visited some wind power 2 weeks ago up in the northeastern part of the state near Elizabeth City, and that footprint is very small compared to solar, but it does not, wind don't blow all the time everywhere.
Right.
But
exactly.
up in that section, it's pretty prevalent that wind is pretty steady. So I'll actually, when you step off the footprint of the tower that holds the windmill, you're stepping in a soybean field. So they farm right up to the tower. So looking at something like that is less intrusive as far as taking up the land than solar. But everything has its place. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this over that. Everything has its place in getting our energy requirements up because we need them.
We need to be a little bit more selective.
Selective in how and where and what goes on, because we can't keep taking land away expecting to produce more and more. And everybody says, well, we can go to a different type of product. Well, that brings on a lot more controversy. And so we got to be careful, which direction we go with some of this. But we got to be cognizant of the land that we're utilizing. We just can't keep taking it away from our production. It's hard.
And I think that's the message I hear from Secretary Troxler and others.
Yes.
Is this cautionary tale that at some point in time we could be there.
Yeah.
As we've had this conversation today, I want to go ahead and invite you back somewhere in the future because we're coming up to closure here on the show. But at the end of the day, Steve, I think you would agree we could easily do a semester on agriculture just in the development of understanding ag.
Right.
I want to thank you again for taking time to be here. I know you're a busy guy, but I got you on speed dial, so I'll be calling you.
I enjoyed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Steve Matthis, Mount Olive University. Stay tuned. Next week, we look forward to seeing you, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.